My name is John, and for over 20 years I believed that my marriage to Linda was a testament to the beauty of ordinary life, a life filled with shared routines, tender moments, and the quiet stability of a family built on trust. Every morning, Linda would prepare breakfast with a smile, and every evening we'd sit together discussing our day. Our home, nestled in a quiet suburb, was a haven of warmth and familiarity. I prided myself on the life we had built, a life of contentment and mutual respect. Yet, there were subtle moments I began to notice over time that I could not quite explain. Linda's eyes sometimes held a faraway look when she was alone. Her laughter, though genuine, occasionally hinted at a secret that lay hidden beneath the surface. I first assumed these were merely the quiet echoes of a woman with a rich inner life, a creative mind perhaps yearning for something more. I dismissed the feeling, trusting that our decades of marital bliss had left little room for hidden truths. As days turned into months, however, the small, inexplicable details began to add up. I noticed that Linda's phone would light up late at night, and she would step away to take calls that she never mentioned afterward. There were evenings when she would vanish for hours without explanation, only to return with a mysterious smile and a sparkle in her eyes that I had never seen before. I rationalized these moments as temporary distractions, perhaps meetings with old friends or routine errands. But deep within, a niggling doubt began to take hold. One fateful afternoon, I found myself tidying up the study when I discovered an old, leather-bound journal tucked away behind some dusty boxes. It was not mine, but clearly belonged to Linda. With a mixture of curiosity and an inexplicable sense of foreboding, I began to leaf through its pages. At first, the entries detailed everyday thoughts and reflections, but as I read on, I encountered a series of vivid descriptions that spoke of a life I never knew she led. They described nights full of pulsating music, bright lights, and the thrill of performing before a captivated audience. There were detailed accounts of secret rehearsals, glamorous nights under dazzling neon lights, and encounters with strangers who adored her. My heart raced as I realized that the Linda I knew, a gentle housewife, was not the full story. The journal revealed that she had adopted an entirely different persona after dark, one that dazzled on stage at a trendy nightclub in the heart of the city. In that hidden world, she was known as Luna, a sultry, enigmatic diva who commanded attention with every performance. The entries were written in a tone of liberation and passion, describing the rush of being adored, the thrill of the spotlight, and the freedom that came with shedding the weight of domesticity. I was shocked, devastated, and confused. How could the woman I had built a life with harbor such a secret? As I sat in that quiet study, the words of the journal echoing in my ears, I felt a cold wave of betrayal crash over me. Every tender memory of our shared life now seemed to be a lie, a carefully crafted illusion designed to conceal a hidden passion that I had never imagined existed. That night, unable to sleep and tormented by the revelations in Linda's journal, I began to document everything in my own journal. I wrote down every detail, the late-night phone calls, the unexplained absences, and now the truth of her secret double life. I questioned every memory of our past. Was our life together nothing more than a carefully constructed facade? Could the love I thought we shared have been built on a foundation of deceit? The pages filled with my anguish, and I resolved that I could no longer live in ignorance. The truth had emerged from the shadows, and I had no choice but to confront it head-on. In the days that followed the discovery of Linda's journal, I found myself spiraling into a state of disbelief and sorrow. The comfortable world I had known was now shrouded in a haze of questions and painful uncertainty. Every night, I lay awake, haunted by the vivid images of Luna, the dazzling persona that Linda had embraced after dark. The journal entries recounted the exhilaration of performing, the sense of freedom that came with the glare of neon lights, and the adoration of a crowd that knew her only as a captivating star. With each passing day, the duality of her existence tore at me. By day, the loving wife I adored. By night, the enigmatic diva whose life was a world away. I began to follow subtle clues, piecing together the fragments of her secret life. I discovered receipts for late-night dinners at upscale restaurants in the city, and I noticed that Linda's wardrobe included glamorous outfits that I had never seen before, sparkling dresses, high heels, and accessories that screamed of a life under the spotlight. I even found a set of photographs tucked away in a drawer, snapshots of Linda on stage, radiant and confident, with an energy that was both intoxicating and alien. These images confirmed what the journal had revealed, that she was, indeed, living a double life. Unable to contain my need for the truth any longer, I began to do some research. I discovered that a popular nightclub in the city, known for its vibrant atmosphere and celebrity clientele, often featured a performer known as Luna. The reviews, the social media buzz, and even a few blurry images online all pointed to the same magnetic presence, a woman whose performance was both seductive and empowering. The more I read, the clearer it became that Linda was this very person. I was struck by the sheer contradiction. The gentle, reserved woman I had married was capable of transforming into a magnetic diva who commanded an entirely different world. The revelation was a crushing blow. I felt betrayed, not only by the secrets she had kept from me, but by the very idea that the woman I had loved could harbor such a profound need for recognition and validation. Every moment we had shared now took on a sinister undertone, as if the warmth of our past was nothing more than a clever ruse. I spent days drowning in sorrow and wrestling with a tumult of emotions, anger, hurt, and an overwhelming sense of inadequacy. How could I compete with the allure of a stage, with the exhilaration of a life lived under neon lights? Desperation compelled me to confront the evidence. One evening, I decided to visit the nightclub where Luna performed. I sat in a shadowed corner, my heart pounding as I waited for the show to begin. The lights dimmed, and a hush fell over the crowd. Then, emerging onto the stage with a burst of energy, she appeared, Linda, transformed into Luna. The performance was mesmerizing. Every movement, every gesture was infused with a raw, unbridled passion that seemed to defy the constraints of our mundane existence. I watched in horror and disbelief as the crowd roared with admiration, and I felt an indescribable ache, an unbearable mix of betrayal and longing. That night, I left the club with more questions than answers. The images of Luna's performance were seared into my mind, and I struggled to reconcile them with the woman I had known all those years. I began to realize that the truth was far more complicated than I had ever imagined. Linda's secret life was not just about infidelity, it was about the duality of her existence, a desperate search for a part of herself that had been suppressed by the expectations of our privileged life. As I sat alone in the quiet darkness on the drive home, I vowed that I could no longer remain in the shadows of ignorance. I needed to confront Linda with the truth of what I had discovered, even if it meant shattering the delicate remnants of our marriage. The evidence was irrefutable, and the pain it inflicted was a constant reminder of the hidden world that had existed right under my nose. I resolved that tomorrow, I would face her and demand answers for the double life that had stolen away the innocence of our shared dreams. The day of confrontation dawned with an atmosphere charged with tension and dread. I had spent the previous nights rehearsing my questions and gathering my thoughts. The evidence of Linda's hidden life, her journal, the photographs, the receipts, and even the digital footprints of her online persona, had become a weight too heavy to bear. I knew that the time had come to face her, to force the truth into the open and seek an explanation for the life she had concealed for so long. I found Linda in our living room, a place that once echoed with laughter and love but now felt suffocating and cold. Her eyes, usually warm and inviting, were clouded with a mixture of fear and resignation. I walked toward her slowly, the folder containing all my evidence clutched tightly in my hand. "Linda," I began, my voice trembling with a cocktail of sorrow and anger, "we need to talk about what you've been hiding." For a long, agonizing moment, the room fell silent. Linda's gaze dropped to the floor as she hesitated, and then, with a deep, shuddering sigh, she spoke. "John, I never wanted to hurt you," she said softly. "I know you found my secret life, the life I've built as Luna, but I needed it. I needed to feel free, to be seen as more than just a wife and a mother." Her confession was a painful admission that ripped through the fragile remnants of our marriage. I demanded to know why she had felt trapped in our comfortable, affluent life, and why the allure of the nightlife was too irresistible to ignore. Linda's eyes welled up with tears as she explained that the expectations of our society, the pressure to maintain a flawless image, had left her feeling invisible and unappreciated. "I craved something real," she confessed, "a life where I wasn't defined solely by my role at home. When I became Luna, I finally felt alive." Her words, though filled with a desperate longing for freedom, were like daggers to my heart. How could the woman I had built a life with choose a path that betrayed everything I thought we shared? The conversation spiraled into a torrent of raw emotions. I confronted her with the evidence, the letters, the photographs, the digital messages, each piece a stark reminder of the double life she had led. I questioned every detail, the late-night phone calls, the secret trips into the city, the inexplicable changes in her behavior. Linda's responses were halting and filled with regret, but they did little to ease the pain. I felt a profound sense of loss, of trust, of our past, and of the future that I had believed was ours. In a moment of crushing vulnerability, Linda admitted that her life as Luna was not just an escape from the confines of domesticity, it was an expression of who she truly was. A side of her that had been buried beneath years of societal expectations. "I know it's hard to understand," she whispered, "but I needed that part of me to feel whole." The realization that I had been living with a woman whose identity was split between two worlds was more devastating than I had ever imagined. Our daughter's silent gaze from the doorway added another layer of agony to the encounter, a painful reminder that even our children had sensed that something was amiss. The house, once a haven of love, was now a stage for a heartbreaking reckoning, where every lie and secret threatened to shatter the remaining fragments of trust. As the confrontation reached its peak, I felt as if my entire world was collapsing. I stormed out of the room, unable to bear the weight of Linda's revelations any longer. The bitterness of betrayal mingled with the sorrow of a love that had been irrevocably damaged. That day marked a turning point in my life, a moment when I realized that the comfortable illusion of our past could no longer be salvaged. I was left with a choice: to try to rebuild what had been lost or to walk away from a life that was now defined by secrets and shattered dreams. That night, as I sat alone in the darkness of our home, I poured out my heart in my journal. Every word was a testament to the pain and the betrayal that had forever altered my existence. I knew that the journey ahead would be long and uncertain, and that the scars of this confrontation might never fully fade. But I also resolved that I could no longer live in the shadow of a hidden past, whatever that past might be. In the weeks and months that followed the shattering confrontation, I found myself standing at the crossroads of despair and the possibility of renewal. The revelations of Linda's double life, as both a devoted housewife and a dazzling nightclub diva known as Luna, had left deep scars that threatened to define the rest of my existence. Yet, in the midst of the anguish, I discovered a quiet determination to reclaim my life and rebuild my identity from the ruins of betrayal. I began the long, arduous process of healing by turning inward. Therapy became an essential part of my journey, a space where I could confront the raw emotions of loss, betrayal, and confusion. In those sessions, I learned that true healing was not about erasing the pain, but about embracing it and using it as a foundation for growth. Slowly, I began to see that every scar was a reminder of my resilience, a testament to the strength it takes to survive when your world is turned upside down. Reconnecting with old friends and rediscovering my passions also played a crucial role in my recovery. I took long walks alone, spending time in nature where the simplicity of life reminded me that there was beauty even after betrayal. I immersed myself in hobbies that had once brought me joy: reading, painting, and even writing again. Every small victory, every moment of self-discovery, was a step toward rebuilding the life I thought was lost. Perhaps the most important part of my journey was redefining my relationship with my daughter, Emily. The pain of Linda's hidden life had cast a long shadow over our family, but in our shared grief, we found a new strength. We began to forge new memories together, quiet afternoons filled with heartfelt conversations, laughter that slowly chipped away at the sorrow, and the promise that our bond would endure, no matter what. Emily's unwavering support reminded me that even in the face of the most devastating betrayal, love can still be a guiding light. I also made the difficult decision to confront Linda one final time, not in the hope of reconciliation, but to assert my own truth and seek closure. I wrote her a letter that expressed the depth of my pain, the irrevocable impact of her choices, and my determination to move forward on my own terms. In that letter, I made it clear that while I could never forget the betrayal, I would no longer allow it to dictate my future. I was reclaiming my dignity and asserting that my life would be defined by honesty, integrity, and the courage to rebuild from the ashes of a shattered dream. As time passed, I began to see that renewal was not about erasing the past, but about integrating it into a new narrative. The memories of Linda's double life, the secret nights under neon lights, and the hidden passion of her alter ego, Luna, would always be a part of me. However, they no longer held the power to paralyze me. Instead, they became a source of strength, a reminder that even when the deepest betrayals shatter your world, you have the capacity to rise again. Now, as I stand at the threshold of an unwritten future, I choose to move forward with cautious optimism. I have learned that true healing is not measured by the erasure of pain, but by the courage to face it head-on and to rebuild one's life from the ruins. My story, a tale of love, betrayal, and the unyielding pursuit of truth, will forever remain a part of who I am. And while the memory of Linda's secret double life as Luna may never fully fade, it has given me the strength to redefine my identity and to pursue a future filled with hope, dignity, and the promise of renewal.